What's up, guys? Dad Dash Industries here. So, some days I do record, some days I don't record, but I really wanted to just give you guys the breakdown here on on two shifts I did. They were a couple days apart, and this is before I went on a little bit of a break. And I wanted to just kind of show you because, again, I want to show you the good, the bad, the ugly, and the shifts that just get sometimes crazy and absolutely unprofitable. And then the next shift I have to show you is where it actually turned out to be okay, and a pretty decent shift. So this first shift here, like I said, there's no drive along here. This is just breaking down the numbers. I'm going to try to keep it short and concise, go over this with you, and not take up too much of your time. But I think there's some things to learn in here. There's some things to discuss, and there's some stuff that you're going to see in some videos I'll be posting for ride-alongs. I've made some adjustments, and these might be things you're seeing in your market. I'd love to get a discussion going, and just see what you're seeing in your market and how you're handling these type of things. So this particular day, this followed the day of the ride-along of the 15th, which you may have already seen posted on the channel, or it might not be up yet. But you see that video with the breakdown. That was a lukewarm day. I didn't get to go out that night. I decided to go out the next day, drop my kids at school, had some time, and this was a situation where I was not going to be able to do evening shift because I had to go pick my my youngest son up from the babysitter relatively early because there was stuff going on. So I only had the morning, and this is just kind of how I've had mornings that were extremely successful where I made $100 in 2 hours, and then I've had mornings like this that just absolutely were terrible. And it really was a terrible, terrible shift. But, it was some challenging times that I've had, but I've kept positive because the very next shift turned into a nice one. So we started out here. You'll see here I did a Grub hub for sheets. Now, the significance of this is because, again, this was kind of impatience where I took this order way too soon. It took me in a direction that I regret it later on and kind of define the rest of my shift. It's a $9 order, and going 16 miles. And again, once again, some of those miles was kind of pre-trip miles, but that was because I had driven with my apps on. I was kind of driving around and I didn't really have a direction. So one thing you want to always do is always have a plan, always have a direction. In this case here, I wasn't certain I was going to get out that morning, so I did not schedule myself with DoorDash. I wasn't sure what was going on. I should have just headed into the market I knew and just gone straight there. I didn't do that. I wandered, and I got 16 miles on the clock before I knew it. So mileage to money ratio on this was 56 cents. Absolutely terrible. Gas mileage cost $1.12. That's actual gas mileage cost. And it took me 25 minutes. Now, the only thing that was good in this order was $21.60 projected hourly. That wasn't bad at all. I ended up completing that order at 8:03. Now, you're going to see a trend here, 20 minutes until my next order. So you can see right there was 20 minutes until the next order happened. Not good. That was terrible. But that was because literally I ended up smack dab between two markets. So I made a decision to go to a market I normally don't go to. Went into that market, got on the DoorDash schedule there, and immediately picked up a DoorDash Chick-fil-A offer going 15 miles. 15 miles, why? Because I had to drive into that new market. I got one order there, which was this order right here. It was $8, $3 base pay, $5 tip, and it cost me 15 miles. Got to the customer's house. There was no wait times were not a problem at all on this shift. So I go in, 18 minutes. Projected hourly on this order was actually very strong, right? Now, here comes the real problem, right? So now I get done with that. I can't get any more orders. So I make the decision to go ahead and make the drive to my market. But Grubhub and Uber Eats is kind of wide open. I'm like, well, maybe I'll get an order in the in-between. I then went an astounding, nearly, what was it, 1 hour and 22 minutes. 1 hour, 22 minutes with no order. 1 hour, 22 minutes, no order. Terrible. All right. Now, you're going to see 36 miles was traveled. I took an order from McDonald's for $6.50. It ended up into an $8.25. I got extra, right? So then now it looked like the day was starting to get better, because as I'm leaving the McDonald's, or as I'm getting ready to leave the McDonald's, I get this Wendy's order, which was literally across the street, and the drop-off for this McDonald's was just down the street from there. So, and I knew Wendy's sometimes took a little while. So I drop off the McDonald's order, I go back, and sure enough, what happens? I get to Wendy's. It was a very nice order. And again, I thought this was the day it was going to start to take off. It was a $13.59 offer, and Wendy's ended up closed. So I had to report them closed and got $1.90 from Grubhub. All right. Now, next I got another McDonald's order for $6.75, and it stayed $6.79. But because I was driving around, sort of, because I literally left that Wendy's and then kind of started to drive, and I got down the way and then got pulled back to the McDonald's I'd been at, and ended up having to come all the way back. It cost me some miles. Ended up being a nine-mile order. Okay. And you see here that I ended up having to wait 8 minutes in between the order. So you can see there. I got done with that order at 10:33. Now, here comes problem number 2. 10:33. Notice, 11:40. 1 hour, 7 minutes until my next order. Notice what happens here. And these are the mistakes I'm making, so you don't have to make them. But notice what blows up here, my miles. Why? Because I didn't go settle down in one area. I was kind of driving all over, trying to find an order, deeply frustrated with the day, and just not wanting to sit in any particular place. I would have been better off just going and finding a place and saving myself the miles and waiting till lunch to cook up, but not costing myself the money that I did, because it ended up costing me that order $1.75, and that was only a $7.50 order. Okay, so my actual miles to pay ratio was terrible in that order. 23.27. You can see this 30.46, 19.74. Look, that is a huge expense. Pay attention to these. 12.4. This needs to be. Okay, this miles to pay ratio should never be more if you're running well. It needs to stay under 5% if you're going to really run a clean shop. Between 5 to 10%, and ideally under 5 is excellent. And this is just my opinion. So you see this right here, that's excellent. Okay, that's where you want it to be at. Because if you look at this was a textbook order right here. Red Lobster, DoorDash, okay, $5.75. It tells you there was 2 miles, all right, and you see where it all come in. $2.88 per mile, 14 cents. It only took 7 minutes. Now, what this also tells you is this was a stacked order. Okay, so those numbers are a little bit deceiving, but that's what you want to. Some of this is a little bit. I guess you could look at it as totality, but I separate my stacks. Same thing happened here because Uber Eats, I got a Five Guys and Noodle Company. It was a stacked order, $4.95 and $6.19. This was just a terrible order to have taken. I took it. I shouldn't have taken it. Once again, the story of what's going on here. And if you look, it'll tell you right in the numbers of exactly what happens. 12:23, 12:48. All right. And I will tell you what I did. I drove around, and there was 25 minutes. Okay, which is really shouldn't be happening, but I was being overly selective on my orders, and then I ended up, and it's cool if you want to be overly selective. Hats off to you. Park your car. Do not travel 14 miles like I did, because I traveled a lot of extra miles, and then I took this order for Five Guys and Noodles Company, and I had to drive. It really wasn't bad. I think the miles on that order was like seven miles. But you see, I drove 16. So that tells you right there, I drove about 9 extra miles that I added on, which was just sunk cost into the order, and ended up wreaking havoc to what ended up being a terrible, Terrible end of the day. So let's get into this shift. The really terrible stats, almost embarrassingly terrible, but I'm going to share it with you. I worked 338 minutes for a total of 5.63 hours that were invested in that shift. That's total investment. That's from the beginning to the end. My delivery hours was 151 minutes. So that's time actually spent on deliveries. And you can tell, this tells the story. I didn't do a great job selecting orders either, because my delivery time, I went north of $25, right? So this is a subpar day. Tells me a lot about my selection, my selectivity. It was not a good day. I did not select very profitable orders. You can see right here, 17 cents a minute. Terrible. Average wait time was really good. The average order, okay, average dollars per order was not good at all. $6.48. So it was really, really weak. I just made terrible decisions. I did 9 orders, all right, for a total of $10.35 per hour while I was out. That's $10.35 covering my money that while I was out. And I only made an embarrassing $58.29. Now, albeit I had to leave early. I had to end it much quicker than I normally would have. My base pay was $28.59. My tips were just barely above base pay. That tells you another thing about the day too. When the tips are just barely above base pay, I want a 2-to-1 ratio here. 2-to-1 ratio. 2-to-1. My tips 2-to-1. That tells you it's a good day. That tells you you're having a good customer service day. And I drove 122 miles. That is. So this was a really, really poor shift. This really left me with a lot to think about as I broke this down at the end of the day. And I break every shift down just like this. I don't do it on camera. I look at it beforehand. But $8.52. Okay, and you're going to see what this just did to the... now, you know, here's the thing you're going to notice. All this is negative. Okay, so what this tells you is it was such a bad day that my tax write-off actually was larger than my pay. So I actually would be getting a refund back from the government. But you know, obviously that's not what's going to happen. So it was a tax-free day. All right, tax-free day because of how bad it was. So I made $58.29 and technically did not have to set anything aside for taxes. Technically, doesn't, you know, I will always set something aside, but technically I didn't need to set anything aside. $58.20. That's how bad of a day it was. So that's the 16th. Now, on the 18th, I did a dinner shift. Now, again, this is contrasting between dinner and lunch. Now, my day, I'm always trying to make $100, but I also keep that in the framework of $100 is normally, my goal is to work 4 hours a day and make $100. So that's $25 an hour. So if I'm working less, my pace is $25 an hour or more. That's what I'm looking for. You're going to see right here, I did not hit $100 this day. Okay, there are some days I've done it, but this particular day I didn't. But it still was not necessarily a bad shift. So I began my shift at taking my first order at 6:40. So you can see I started the dinner shift late. Okay, so again, taking that into account that I started late, that tells you a lot about it. 7:21. Now I want you to look at this here and see that what you're going to see here is the wait times were way down. The longest wait time I had was this first order from 7:21 to 7:35, 14 minutes. My second longest wait, okay, was 7 minutes. So 7 minutes was my second longest wait. So that's not bad at all. That really is not bad at all. That's very, very good. And that's part of why this shift ended up going very well. So I started it out with Satarva India. It's an Indian food restaurant. It was Grubhub. And you're going to see here, Grubhub really does a great job of paying their drivers. But I also utilized Outback here. So that was good as well. And, you know, it really wasn't bad at all. It was not a bad shift at all. And there was only one overtip. So a lot of this was orders I found by being patient, by making the right decisions. Now, I did not videotape this because I don't always videotape every order, and so I'm trying to get through and just focus and move through it. And that's pretty much what this story was here today on this particular day, because we're getting ready to go out of town the next day, so I had a lot on my mind, so I just was not videotaping. But we started out with a Sitar of India. It ended up being $13.10. Now, there was 19 miles traveled. Okay, you're going to see there was 2 big miles traveled in here. And again, you see the wait time plays a factor in here. So I still didn't learn my lesson, although I'm trying to solve that problem, and I'm implementing strategies to try to take care of it. And you can see I kind of solved it down through here, right? I kind of made up for it. But it ended up being 19 miles coming in, 69 cents. I always expect the first order to be like that. Actual gas mileage, $1.33. Miles to pay ratio. Now, you're going to see right here, these fell in the pocket. I had 1, 2, and 3 orders that were right in there, and this one was under 10%, and this one was under 10%. So you see, this was the only order. Even this one got a little out of control, but I still had enough money made on this order that it kept me in the pocket. But here I was a little bit high, but that's because those were initial orders. This order took 41 minutes. Okay, and that place does have a history. You know, when you take an order from there, you got to be very careful when you're doing it. And there is no bad wait times. 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute. So it wasn't wait time. Actually, I guess I can really blame it on here. It was just the distance and, you know, the time it took to get out to where I had to go. But anyways, so it ended up being a $13.10 order. And my hourly rate for that was $19.17. Now, you're going to see I really clean it up. There were 2 week orders here, $19 and $15. We're getting to that here in a minute. And those are the ones you want to pay attention to and say, okay, what can we do to make that a little bit different? And one of them is I took too small of an order here. Too small of an order and too long of miles. And spent too much time on it for a place like Outback, you know. And I was expecting there to be potentially some hidden tip, and there was not. So that's what ended up happening there. But anyways, next order is Outback. Like I said, I had to drive around a little bit to get back into the area. So that was more of the idea that I went out and I slingshot it back and ended up running up some miles. But I got a $13.50 order, $10 tip, $3.50 base pay. Again, this is a $16, $17, $18, $19 order on Grubhub. Same on Uber Eats. So it's just, you know, it's a real shame DoorDash does that. But I ended up with 19 miles from where I had to go out, because I always begin the next order on the mileage of the arrival. And then I start tracking it just for purposes of this sheet, because for tax purposes, you can track it the whole time you're out from the first delivery to the last delivery. And then, of course, there's some disputes over the commuting mileage, which I'm not going to get into right now in this discussion. But miles per dollars was 71 cents. So that was there was only one more order that we dropped under $1, and that was, again, we'll get to that in a little bit. But projected hourly here was $32.40 because I only spent 25 minutes on the order. So it was really an exceptional order. 4 minutes. It was not bad at all. A lot of those miles were miles getting in, so the actual order I saw on my screen was really, really solid. Next, I picked up a Grubhub order for $13.86, 9 miles. Ended up $1.54 per mile. Ended up 63 cents actual mileage cost, and the miles to pay ratio was under 5%, so excellent there. Only 27 minutes of time spent on the order for $30.80 projected hourly. So an excellent order. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Next was Del Sol Cafe. Picked that up for $11.75. Turned into a $16 order. This was the order of the night. $13 tip, $3 base pay, 7 miles. This is textbook stuff right here. $2.29 a mile. That is a unicorn order if I've ever seen one. That's exactly what we're all looking for. Only 49-cent gas cost, $3, 3.05% miles to pay ratio. I mean, everything was just in the pocket, and a $64 projected hourly rate and a 1 minute wait time. Order was ready to go. I mean, again, just excellent. Next, Outback. I picked up an order for Outback, thinking that there could be extra money there. There turned out to not be extra money there. I went more miles than I got paid, 8 miles, 91 cents, 56 cents actual gas mileage cost. And again, because it was such a small order, that crept up over 5%, which is not where you want it. If you're going to do the small orders, you need to keep that down. That needs to stay under 5%, and you will still stay profitable. Even if you don't want it to ever creep up over 10% when you're doing the small orders, because you have such a small margin, and it can really start eating into your cost. But $15 projected hourly. It took 29 minutes that was really a poor order because of the distance. Okay, that was the story of the night. There was the distance, and this was a this was a mess of an order right here too. Buffalo Wild Wings. So essentially, you're going to see I only got $5.62. So this ended up being a real big mess because this was actually a stacked order. So it was $7.25 and $9.75. You see right there was the offers that were made. I got the Outback offer, and that's why there's no wait times here. But basically, I arrived at the store. I got it. I got the Buffalo Wild Wings. They didn't actually have the order in the computer. They couldn't find it. So I left. I went and I dropped off the Outback order. All right. And part of the reason why this turned out to be such a bad order was because DoorDash laid an egg on me. So technically you can throw that $5 into there, and that's going to really help with with the miles per dollars and stuff like that. So that's why I threw one in there, because I separate my stacked orders. So so like I said, there's a little bit more story there. It's actually technically a $9 order for technically like $12 and some change. So this is a little bit, like I said, you're going to see here where this thing just shoots up, and you've got a 1.24% miles to money ratio. You got $337.20 an hour because it was basically 1 minute. Because basically I was on the phone with support all the way up, and then they ended up giving me half of the value of the order. So I was actually going to be a little bit overpay there, because the original offer was $9.75, and it was like $10.54 or something like that, or $10.75 or something. So it was an extra buck. But so that was how I ended it, because once I got to the end there, like I mentioned, we were getting ready to go out of town the next day. I had to cut the shift at 8:55. That's when I stopped right there, 8:55, or sorry, 9:19. So once I got done with all that mess, I had to go home, and I ended up working from 6:40 to 9:19. We're getting into the specifics of the order, or the stats of the order here. I drove 63 miles, so $1.10 per mile ratio. Like I said, I still got myself in some trouble drifting a little bit. Had $30.20 in base pay. Had $39.13 in total tips. So definitely not the 2-to-1 ratio I like, but it was still more. I got a total of $69.33 in total pay. And the total initial offers that I got were $69.21. And so it basically, the extra pay that I got on the one order ended up being eclipsed by the Buffalo Wild Wings order. And I did a total of 6 dashes, and I did a total of $26.16 per hour. So a much, much better hourly rate than the day before, and I did a $30.14. This is the stats I like to see for a dinner shift. So both of these came in right where I wanted them to be. An average of $11.56 per order, 44 cents per minute. Look, guys, this is the stuff you want to see. This is a good shift right here with all the numbers falling in, and an average wait time of 2 minutes. It really doesn't get much better than that. There was some frustrations, like I said, with some things. I got started later. I could have made a little bit more money, obviously, had I gotten the paid out, the full pay on the Buffalo Wild Wings. But I worked 6:40 to 9:19. I didn't hit my goal of 100, but I did get, I did average more than what I would have, and I only ended up working 2.65 hours. So basically what I know from this is that if I would have taken that 26.16, all right, and, what would I have earned over 4 hours? And, you could sit there and calculate that out, and you would know that I would have earned over $100 an hour, or over $100 for the shift. So even though I didn't technically hit it, I did average it. So taking that 159. So what I'm talking about here is you would take the 69.33, and you would divide that by the hours worked, the 159, to get your minute. That's 43 cents, 43.6 cents a minute, and then you would times that by 240, and then that's going to get you $104.64. So I would have been over $4.64 over, and that's what I look at. I'm looking to work 4 hours a day, make $100. If I do more than that, I'm expecting to make more than $100. And if I can do it early, that's even better. And if I can make $100 before 4 hours, that's even better as well. So anyways, guys, I just want to kind of go through this here. Like I said, I'm not going to videotape every single shift. The tax summary on this shift here, that last bit I almost forgot, $56.61. Taxable income was $34.05. And the after miles cost was $52.21, because it actually ended up costing me, for actual mileage here, it was $4.40 for actual mileage cost. So, like I said, it was a pretty good shift in the end. And you can see here the interesting parts, though, that in this case, I had a good shift, I had a good hourly rate, I worked 2 hours and made all this money. But you can see, I actually almost made the same amount of money after taxes and after gas costs. I actually made less. I made $52.21 because I ended up owing, $12.72 in taxes. You go back to that other shift where I only made like $50-some. I took home the entire shift because I drove too many miles. Now, again, I know the wear and tear on the car and all that stuff, there's a totally different, there's lots of factors to be taken into account. But I'm just pointing that out there, that you have one shift, I drive a bunch of miles, I keep all my money in my pocket, heavier car expenses, of course. And then on the other end, I have a better miles to money ratio. I earn more money for the shift, and I end up coming in at almost the same exact money because I have to pay more to taxes. So obviously there's other expenses and write-offs and things you can come up with at tax time, but just contrasting that, I think it's just something to kind of look at when you're making decisions and making those decisions on miles. If you got to maybe you drive an extra mile or two, but you make the money, sometimes it's putting more money in your pocket in a way. But you got to do it within reason. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I said, it was not a ride along. It was just breaking down the financial facts. If you guys, again, if you are interested in this spreadsheet, in my spreadsheets, contact me at, just email me at dad-13@gmail.com. Okay. And send me an email and I'll email you the sheets. Like I said, and let me know if you want Google Sheets in numbers version or just the Google Sheets version. The numbers version is a little bit different for how it's formatted, and the Google Sheets is going to work better with Excel and going to be more friendly to all of that. So anyways, let me know, Also, please put in the comments your strategies, how you're dealing with things like the in-between, like the extra miles, your positioning. I'd love to get a discussion going on that. Positioning is everything. I think it's one of the key points, and I will say, that it is the most important thing. And positioning, meaning positioning where you end up, after the order is done. And that can make a huge difference, and I've seen the impact. This particular order, I was in position. I was in position to get that Del Sol Cafe order. I picked good orders. I paid attention to my map, and I knew my market. Know your market, okay? You got to know your market. Know your market. Number one takeaway from today's video. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video today. Please leave in the comments. If you like this video, if you like me breaking this down, showing you my sheets, going into my thought process, if this was helpful. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you soon.